Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's True Crime Show. It's been a pretty chaotic week, so we're going to have a more chilled out crime show tonight. Now obviously, given that this is a true crime show, there's a certain limit on being chilled out, you know. So although some crazy stuff will happen, nobody actually dies tonight. They nearly die, but they all live. So everyone lives tonight. In the words of Doctor Who, everyone lives tonight. I've got three stories for you, plus a couple of news items, which we'll get to, and then hopefully a new raid target at the end. Something a little bit different, just to trill us out afterwards. Yeah, I think so. So the first thing we have tonight is the Hatton Garden Burglary. The Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Burglary is everything a classic British gangster film needs. It's got a band of veteran criminals making one last big score, an audacious heist, millions missing and never found, and a mysterious mastermind. You can imagine how excited the newspapers were when this kicked off. So let's discuss the gang, because this is a robbery in Britain. There's a gang, obviously. So the central figure in the Hatton Garden burglary was Brian Reader. By the time of this case, he was a well-established criminal, and he'd stood trial for robbing diamonds from Hatton Garden already. Gone in the run in Europe after being accused of carrying out a robbery, although he was found not guilty for that one. Just that one. He had already been involved in two of the most infamous crimes in modern British history. In 1983, he was involved in the Brinks-Mat robbery, where 26 million was stolen from Heathrow Airport. Reader served 9 years then for handling stolen goods. In between Brinks-Mat and his prison sentence, he was staying with a man called Kenneth Noy the night Noy bumped into a man wearing a balaclava in his garden and stabbed him to death. Unfortunately for everybody involved, this man was an undercover police officer. Noy claimed self-defence, Reader claimed he was not involved, and both were acquitted. We won't get into the precise details of that case tonight. That might be one for the future. But as you can see, his first conviction was when he was 11 for burglary. It had been a very eventful life. However, by 2015, Reader was not the man he used to be. He had prostate cancer, a blood condition called neutropenia, and had fractured his neck in a fall. He was also reeling from being widowed. You can perhaps see the interest in one last massive job to sail into the sunset. Reader's son Paul wasn't involved, but he still got swept up by what we'll find out, the coming police investigation, and spent time in prison before they realised he was actually innocent. He himself had an aneurysm and kidney disease. Along with Reader, the Hatton Garden gang included Terry Perkins, famous for the Security Express robbery of 1983, but also famous for the book about it, which was called The Untold Story of Britain's Biggest Cash Robbery. They almost got away with it. He fled from prison in 1995 and had a heart condition. You can see where this is going already, can't you? The rest of the gang were Danny Jones and Kenny Collins, established criminals with long pasts. And the fifth, well, that was a man called Basil. He was referred to as Basil by the rest of the gang, and Basil existed and helped, but no one at the main trial had any idea who Basil was. But we'll get back to that later. Hello Ditch, great to see you. Dropping a quick flange in the chat, excellent. That'll confuse people on the VOD. Why not? So as you can see, the gang were, what's the polite way of putting it? Not in the best of health, in their twilight years. Perhaps not as much to lose. Oh yes, Ditch. I don't know if you saw, Ditch. We're doing a more chill stream tonight. I've picked some stories in which nobody actually dies. There is an attempted murder at one point, but the whole point tonight is that nobody dies. It's mostly. Hello, Polly. So the idea of the robbery was 3 years old when this robbery happened. Danny Jones began dreaming of using the Target vault, which we'll see, for a legendary heist. And that's not some exaggeration. Danny Jones was a man who dreamed big, and he wanted to do something incredible. He'd pursued a similar idea before, but abandoned it because they couldn't get the inside information they needed. For Hatton Garden, they found Basil. Polly, Ditch would like you to know he'll see you tomorrow. And as you don't understand English, you have no idea what that means. I'm sure she didn't react badly, did she? She's fine. She seems happy to have you around. We'll see. So now, imagine you were a gang of criminals planning to steal millions in jewels. Where would the best place be to plan this? Well, the gang planned it a lot, but mostly in Friday nights in the Castle pub in Islington, and everyone around heard them doing it. This would be a problem when it actually happened, as you'll find out. The other problem was Jones needed to be kept calm. He was incredibly impatient. Generally speaking, this isn't my quote, this is one of the criminals involved, the longer you worked on planning, the better things would go. But Jones would do it that night if he could. So they sort of kept a rein on him. And they set a watch on this on the target, assessing staff and their coming and goings, and planning. Once again, the cat cam is in the wrong place. We may have to reconsider cat cam because the cat likes to sit on the warm PC. Is it not warm enough in here? Because of somebody I can't open a window, and I'm basically going to have heat stroke by the end of this stream. But you want to sit on the hot PC. I think I've got a desert cat. I'm being looked at. I'm being glared at now. Don't embarrass me in front of all the lovely people. Right. Oh, we have a new emote. Yes, it's a Polly emote, obviously, because I know what people really come for. But we have a new emote in chat. I think if you're a subscriber, you can use this emote. But I'm now going to put it in chat. Ditch says he believes domestic cats originate in Egypt, so not too far from the truth. Yes, you do think you do like to be worshipped, don't you, Polly? Which is lucky, because she is. And she certainly tries to build interesting pyramids out of her litter. It is my way of saying she throws it across the room. I have actually moved some cables around to lessen the possibility of Polly unplugging the stream, but I think that was a forlorn effort, if I'm being honest. I think Polly's ability to cause chaos is untouched. Oh, thank you so much, Tom. Tom Hansen Live, brilliant drummer on Twitch, who has resubscribed for her second month. Thank you, Tom. I hope you're enjoying it. Hope you are healing and feeling much better. So the target of the robbery was Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Limited, which occupied numbers 88 to 90 Hatton Garden. Now, Hatton Garden is an area in London where the jewellery trade is heavy. And Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Limited had a large vault with many, many millions of pounds worth of jewellery and other valuables in it. which, if you're a gang wanting to make a lot of money very quickly, is tempting. And so in April, 5 elderly and veteran criminals came together to rob it, but they weren't going to go in through the vault doors. This was the change of the beauty of the plan, if you would. So on April 2nd at 21:90, oh, thank you, Foxy. Foxy's come in with a huge raid. Foxy has been playing a game called Bramble for the last 2 sessions of hers, which, God, it's intense. They start off like, oh, here's some cute hedgehogs, isn't this nice? And then it's like, oh, you've just been chopped in half by a pig-faced monster. I'm telling you, I was watching Foxy thinking, this is why I play Animal Crossing. It's better on the heart. She's a brilliant variety streamer, also heavily into paranormal, watches some great videos. Please to give her a follow. Oh, thank you. Paul the Entertainer, thank you for gifting a sub to Brizey. That is very kind of you. I hope the holiday is going well. Oh, amazingly, we have. This is my first ever hype train. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Well, that's a bit of history for the channel. Brilliant. I don't have a hype train song. I don't have any hype train stories. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be good if I prepared 60 seconds about train crime? Oh, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for gifting the sub to Paul. Oh, wow. This is great. We'll just pause while this continues for a little bit. And oh, wow. Oh, good Lord. Ditch has dropped a sub bomb. Thank you so much, Ditch, for gifting subs to King Cobra, Goricki, Billy the Kid, Leslie, and Chessel92. Who I believe we just spoke to in Fox's chat. Brilliant. Wow, level 3 hype train. That's amazing. Wow. Yep, fair enough. So on April 2nd at 20... Oh, King Cobra's given continuing the gift sub they got from Ditch Boy. Thank you so much. Great to see so many great people in here. So who have we had tonight? We've had Ditch, who hopefully will be streaming soon. We've had Tom Hansen Live, great drummer. We've had Steve Ford, who is a brilliant guitarist, streams 4 nights a week. We've had Sydney, who streams real life, and we've had Foxy. King Cobra, I believe, will be hopefully streaming again soon. And if I've missed anyone, Paul maybe do a bit Paul. Anyway, right, brilliant. Right, so the staff of the company locked all the doors and went home for the bank holiday Easter weekend. Right, so there's basically what this means in Britain is you've got 3 days of nobody doing anything. So there's not going to be anybody in the building for 3 days. Thank you, Paul, for 400 bits. That's brilliant. We do I have the Gigantify turned on? So Gigantify is turned on and at a very low level if anybody wants to put big cat pictures in the chat. We all know why you're here. So at 4 minutes after they all left, a van arrived and people in high-vis jackets got out, pretending to be gas repairman. It was the gang. Basil used a key he'd acquired and some inside security knowledge to both open a rear fire door and turn off most of the alarms. Once again, if you want to follow this closely, keep your eye on what Basil does, because he's one of the central mysteries. Unfortunately for the robbers, Basil got it a bit wrong and an alarm went off and the police were told. Fortunately for the robbers, the police did nothing. The police later explained, on this occasion our call handling system and procedures for working with the alarm monitoring companies were not followed. We apologise. So basically, they had a security alarm. People broke in. The alarm tells the police, and the police are like, inside job. King, yes, King. Well, yes. King, I think you are right. Well, I know you're right because we'll get to Basil. But yes. Hello, Leslie. Oh, a tea break. What tea do you drink, Leslie? My neighbour, lovely lady, was telling me today she drinks Yorkshire tea, which is a staple, and I believe it's what the Spiffing Brit drinks. He's a great streamer. So, Yorkshire tea all the way. So, the robbers had got into the building, and there was a vault. They weren't going in through the front. They used a lift shaft to go down to the basement, and in the basement was one of the walls of the vault. 3 of them pulled wheelie bins full of equipment in. So, they had local businesses on holiday for 3 days, no sign of forced entry, 1 man working for a lookout. A way of getting heavy equipment down, they had a window, and in this window they used a industrial drill, which only cost £3,500, to drill through 50 centimetres of vault wall. If you do this 3 times, you create a hole large enough for somebody small to slide through. Before anybody says it, yes, I would need a bigger hole. And if you're wondering why the locals who lived there were not alarmed by people drilling constantly, the gang had sent a letter to all the addresses saying there would be some railway works. So, Leslie drinks Earl Grey. Excellent. Oh, you just meant the cops were on a tea break. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for that level 2 hype train success. I hope you enjoy your emotes. That's brilliant. That's really, really thrilling. Thank you so much. However, they'd had a lot of luck already. Now some luck ran out. They made the hole as they planned. That worked perfect. Oh, Paul's gifted a sub to Thelonious. Thank you very much, Paul. That's very kind of you. So they made the hole, and then they found that a metal cabinet, which contained, the valuables, was bolted to the ceiling and the floor. They had planned for this. They'd researched this. They'd brought a hydraulic ram to knock the cabinet off the wall, but the ram didn't do the job. In fact, the ram broke. So they actually left and regrouped. 2 of the gang went for replacement parts. Once again, if you're doing a giant robbery in London, stealing millions of pounds, it's probably not a good idea to go and buy a hydraulic ram using your real name and address, which they did, unfortunately for them. And there was a disagreement. Some of the team actually left. They had enough. However, the rest carried on. Basil let them in again. They used the new ram. They got past the cabinet. They got Jones and Basil into the vault. They raided the safe deposit boxes, and they stole £14 million worth of valuables, including diamond, gold, jewelleries and cash. Slight problem, Perkins collapsed due to his diabetes, but they had meds, and then by April 15th they left with it all stuffed into wheelie bins. Oh, hello Duckinator, hello from Denmark, welcome in. We welcome people from across the whole world here. We do crime stories from across the whole world as well, so it's great to see people in. I hope you're having a good day. Well, I hope you've had a good day, obviously, because you're in Europe like me, so it is quite late. I stream true crime, and this is a true crime show. Yeah, no plans to do any games, I don't think. I say that, and somebody will PM me. By the way, you will not believe the angle on this, so we'll see. But yeah, so. And on April 7th, the staff came back, realised the whole place had been robbed, and called the police. And now a series of things happened. Firstly, word quickly spread and customers began to arrive, demanding to know if their stuff was safe. it wasn't. So the Met flying squad took over, and they did a description. The scene is chaotic. The vault is covered in dust and debris. The floor is strewn with discarded safety deposit boxes and power tools, including an angle grinder, concrete drills and crowbars. So the first thing they had to do is establish whether a fire that started on April 1st and caused chaos was a deliberate distraction by the gang or just a convenient piece of luck. Again, it turned out to be an electrical fault in cables beneath the pavement. It helped the gang. They didn't do it. So that's fair enough. Then news broke to the general public, and they became obsessed. The latter was helped by the media because the Daily Mirror released CCTV footage before the police did, and they named everyone in it as if this was Reservoir Dogs. Mr. Ginger, Mr. Strong, Mr. Montana, the gent, the tall man, and the old man. I mean, no offence, but maybe if you're getting names like the gent, Mr. Montana, and you're just the old man, bit meth, you know, they sort of gave up then, didn't they? The media, however, were not going with group of ageing criminals from the UK. They started saying it was done by Balkan-based thieves called the Pink Panther, or elite Israeli operatives. Journalists asked if a contortion specialist had been brought in specially. So you can imagine their surprise when the police arrested Brian Reader, 76, Terry Perkins, 67, Daniel Jones, 60, and John Collins, 74. However, the British press welcomed this news as the best possible option because they love a good heist story. We don't like crime, but we love a good heist. That's fine, isn't it? You'll find out why it's not in a minute. So the police investigation moved quickly. There was no physical evidence left behind, but while the gang had disabled most security cameras, they'd actually missed a security camera, which recorded Collins repeatedly driving past the building in a bright white Mercedes. So the police very quickly, because let's face it, half of London knew this was happening because they'd been discussing it in the pub. They quickly identified Reader as suspect. So the police, this is an investigation, this is a suspect, they bugged their vehicles. Turned out the gang didn't know this was possible, and they recorded saying things like, the biggest robbery in the fucking world we was on. The biggest Tom robbery, that means jewelry. The biggest jewellery robbery in the fucking history of the world. If we get nicked, at least we can hold our heads up that we had a last go. Yeah, that's not going to go terribly well in court, is it? So with this evidence, police were able to examine computers from the group. They'd been searching for things like how to drill through large, strong walls. Right, so on May 19th, the gang organised getting much of the loot to a man called William Lincoln in Enfield so it could be sold. The police were waiting because this was an opportunity to have them all together, and they arrested them. In fact, they arrested 9 people. They were charged with the largest burglary in English legal history. The main 4 pled guilty. But before he could be convicted, Reader suffered a stroke. However, he survived. So on March 16th, 2016, John Collins, Daniel Jones and Terry Perkins got 7 years for conspiracy to commit burglary. William Lincoln got 7 years for the same thing, plus conspiracy to transfer criminal property. Carl Wood got 6. A man called Hunt Doyle was given 21 months. And gang leader Brian Reader got 6 years and 3 months. However, the criminals' lives became complicated by a brand new legal situation in Britain, because Britain has introduced a law called confiscation rulings, which meant in January 2018, Collins, Jones, Perkins and Reader were ordered to repay £27.5 million or do another 7 years in prison each. Perkins got out of this by dying. Jones handed over a little bit of loot and was allowed out of prison long enough to guide police to a spot in a London cemetery where he said he'd buried the rest of his loot. He wrote to the police, "I'm the only person in the world to know where it is deep down. I want to do the right thing and give him back." However, while he did take them to an actual graveyard where they dug up a grave and there was the loot, they were a bit suspicious how he was acting. So when he'd gone, they searched the rest of the graveyard and found another grave with much, much more loot. Anyway, Collins had his sentence extended because he only handed back 732,000. The judge in this case said he chose not to have a quiet retirement but participated with others in a serious criminal enterprise for substantial gain. Jones suffered the same fate but is now free. Reader was freed after developing dementia. Well, there's somebody missing, isn't there? Basil. When these men were tried, it was known that there was somebody else, but nobody had any idea who it was. Years have passed since then, and the police never gave up trying to find Basil. Jones, in fact, told the press, "I can say that someone told me he was an ex-policeman who got into security by the guy that introduced him to me. He said Basil heard about me from a close friend on the police force, as I was arrested for a similar raid in Bond Street in 2010. Basil was the brains. I was recruited by him. He let me in on the night of the burglary. He hid keys and codes throughout the building. I saw Basil about 4 times. He came and went. I don't know nothing about him, where he lives. I wasn't interested. And he said he wasn't going to tell anybody anything at all because that's not a damn thing where he came from." A man called Michael Seed was first identified as a suspect in 2015, but he was only arrested and charged in 2019. Aged 58, he was an alarm specialist who prosecutors alleged got a set of keys to get into the building and turn off the security system. Seed denies being Basil. He denied being Basil having anything to do with the robbery, but he couldn't explain why he had a £143,000 in gold gems and jewellery hidden in one of his rooms. Yeah, once again, not going to be on your side in court, that, is it? The prosecution had some really good evidence. Now, do you remember The Usual Suspects, where Verbal Kint has a very peculiar walk and then doesn't have it at the end? Well, Basil was basically the opposite of that. On all the security footage, Basil had a very specific gait. He walked in a very strange way. Seed, who had metal pins inserted into his femur after a motorcycle accident, also walked in exactly the same way. It's not me saying that. They brought in doctors who started to talk about the degrees in his feet at which they were different from, I suppose we're not really supposed to say the normal now, but, you know. So they convincingly proved that the man walking badly on the camera was the man that walked badly in the courtroom. He was convicted, got 10 years and 8 concurrent years, and was ordered to repay $6 million or get 7 more years. Seed isn't happy about this. "Everyone calls me Basil now," he said. "I've been known as Basil for the rest of my life." He appealed and was told, "Well, okay, you can just pay $600,000 back." During the trial, detectives raised the possibility that this gang had worked together before for years on crimes that they had never been connected to. However, they have never been connected to anymore. So, this doesn't really end well for the people that went to Hatton Garden. Most of the stolen riches were never recovered. There are rumours, and that's just rumours, that there were higher up organisers that have a lot of the money. Many businesses and people had their entire wealth stored in that place and stolen, and many lives were ruined. There was considerable anger because the boss of the company did not get on the first plane back to Britain to sort it out. Sadly, because of the robbery and the bad publicity surrounding it, nobody wanted to put their stuff in there anymore, and the company went into liquidation. So we started this by saying this would be the perfect British gangster movie. Inevitably, within a few years, it was. ITV made an all-star drama out of it. But they themselves experienced a drama. It was set to air in December 17, was axed, rescheduled and axed again, and finally aired in 2019. Why? Well, it was scheduled, and then Perkins was charged with another robbery unconnected to Hatton Garden. As the trial was due, they couldn't do a 4-hour drama saying Terry Perkins is a burglar, because he wouldn't have had a fair trial, so they had to pull it. Then Perkins passed away, and then as they were about to do it again, show it on telly again, they caught Basil, so they had to wait. Eventually, they got to show it. And that is the Hatton Garden Burglary. The classic last hurrah from a group of old dodgy gangsters. What do we think of that? I think perhaps if you're going to organise a thank you for the claps. That's great. If you're going to organise a massively famous robbery, loudly doing it in a pub for a couple of years is probably not ideal. Probably not ideal. Right, we now have two shorter stories coming up, and then we have a couple of more light-hearted ones to close. Well, I say actually that's a complete lie. We've got we've got a light-hearted one, and then we've got an absolutely fascinating one that will be horrifying for anybody suspicious of technology. And I think that's a black light. Yes, best not to draw attention to yourself if you're going to rob somebody. Exactly, they went to an awful lot of care, but unfortunately did manage to give a bit of it away. You can understand the mental slip. You're under a lot of pressure. You go and buy a hydraulic ram, and you give your real name. So when the police go, how many people bought a hydraulic ram in London this weekend? Oh, one. Where do they live? Oh, they're these known robbers. Yeah, you're not going to need Sherlock for that one, are you? Yeah. Right. Now, I promised you nobody actually dies in this week's episode. Right. We're now going to discuss a somewhat mad story where somebody nearly dies, but I assure you they did survive. Okay. Now, Foxy, are you there? Because this is inspired by something Foxy did, not in a bad way. Foxy was playing Little Nightmares, and there was a character in Little Nightmares that, well, we don't really know what the lore is because there's no words in there's no language in Little Nightmares. So as we were watching the stream, we were calling him the Slender Man, and I thought, well, why don't I do the Slender Man stabbing? Yes. For anyone who doesn't know what Slender Man is, in 2009, the website Something Awful ran a competition to Photoshop paranormal images. One of these was an absolute zeitgeist-inspiring masterpiece called Slender Man, and a naturally tall and thin-suited figure, often spawning tentacles. It was such a great piece of horror design that it spawned an entire online mythos and fandom, and movies, and games. And regrettably an attempted murder. Somewhat inevitably, somebody took it a bit too far. And you are not going to believe who took it a bit too far. On May 21st, 2014, Three girls were playing in David's Park in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee. They were Annie Sawyer and Morgan Geyser, both 12. The girls were together celebrating Geyser's 12th birthday. They were with Peyton Bella Leutner, who was 12 as well. Leutner had reached out and made friends with Geyser because she'd seen the latter often alone, and Wire had joined the two of them. The group had been having a birthday sleepover weekend, having met after school on a Friday, gone to Skateland and returned to Geyser's home at 9:30 p.m. and slept in her room. The next morning they went to a park. The park was full of trees and they started playing hide and seek. Now, normally in true crime, because of the sad, horrible, awful state of the world, this is normally where some bloke appears and tries to murder the kids. That's not actually what happened in the Slender Man stabbing, because it was the kids. Geyser and Weir had become obsessed with Slender Man fandom. Leutner didn't like it and didn't want to talk to the other two about it. And so Geyser and Weir had gone down a rabbit hole themselves, and they produced a 5-inch knife, held Leutner down and stabbed her 19 times. "I hate you, I trusted you," Leutner said to the girl she considered her best friend. In a sense, Leutner was incredibly lucky. Despite being stabbed in the torso and the legs and the arms, and wounds going into her liver, pancreas and stomach, one wound missed an artery by millimetres. She would survive. Having finished their attack, the aggressors told her to stay on the ground while they went for help. In fact, they ran off. Leutner exhibited the strength of 1,000 men to crawl herself in that condition to a road where she was found and taken to hospital. 6 hours of surgery and 7 days in hospital saved Leutner, and she was able to return and live a normal life. Answered how she managed to get off the road, Leutner just answered, "I wanted to live." So, Leutner obviously told the police what had happened to her. Police went off in search of the girls and found them in 5 hours near a furniture store 5 miles from the attack. They still had the weapon in a bag, and at this point the police obviously were struggling with the concept that two 12-year-old girls had attempted to murder someone. They now found an absolute bag of crazy. The girls explained they were going to Slender Mansion, home of Slender Man, to meet him, having appeased him and gained his approval in the murder. They said Slender Man's home was located 200 miles away in Nicollet National Forest. They had been planning this murder for months. Bearing in mind one of them had just turned 12, so these were 11-year-olds. We had found it surprising, but she was excited to prove the doubters wrong after Geyser had first introduced the concept of killing their friend to gain Slender Man's approval. The attackers had packed their bags after this trip. The attackers had packed bags for a trip after school Friday. They'd taken food and supplies, and they'd planned to kill Leutner at 2 a.m. precisely during the sleepover by duct taping her mouth and then stabbing her and running off. However, they adjusted their plans and planned to kill her in the park bathroom. This failed because one of them had a sort of mental attack, and they decided to kill her in the woods. Wire told police, "I believe it's ending a life and I regret it. The bad part of me wanted her to die. The good part of me wanted her to live." Geyser said the killing seemed necessary. It was weird that I didn't feel remorse. Looking back years later, Leutner said that this came completely out of nowhere. You may be wondering how you spend time with your best friend and have no idea that they're about to murder you. I saw the change from 5th to 6th grade when she met Anissa. Leutner said that's when I was really wanting to get out of that friendship. Once I look back on it, I was like, that's really weird. Why didn't I see something? Well, why didn't I notice something was weird? I'm not blaming myself at all, because who could ever see something like this coming? You'll be pleased to know, Thelonious, there are no pigs in this week's episode, and we are past the worst of it. Oh, right. There is a dog, But the dog lives. In the next story there's a dog, but do not panic. There's a bit in the story where the dog, you might think the dog's in danger, the dog lives. All animals are fine, in fact all humans are fine. Nobody dies, human or animal. Leutner lives. So, police and psychiatrists, because you're having bacon for dinner. So Thelonious is getting her revenge on the pigs for last week's stream where they ate a load of people by eating some pigs. I'm probably going to get complaints now, but as I said last time, I do eat pigs, but that's safe from the knowledge that if a pig had a chance, it would eat me. It's not like a pigeon. A pigeon can't kill me, but a pig would just chow down. It would go. I was about to say it would go ham, but that's not really. That's either incredibly appropriate or incredibly not appropriate. I will leave that to the readers. Also, due to the nature of this stream, I can't tell you what ham is an acronym for. I try not to swear, but I realise that there's no point because the stream's all about murder. I mean, why do I try and minimise swearing when I'm just telling you about people being stabbed? I mean, it's not like it's going to make any difference, is it? Hard as a melon farmer. Yes, Ditch is straight in there with the ITV early 90s broadcasted at tea time change. So police and psychiatrists soon discovered that Geyser had a significant mental problem. You have already probably concluded that, but there was actual evidence. All her life she'd suffered audio and visual hallucinations, which included what she saw ghosts, people who did not exist, and walls melting their colours off. I'm pretty certain there's a lot of music fans who'd like to pay a lot of money for that. Officers in charge of her confinement reported that she had long conversations with Slender Man, Voldemort from Harry Potter, unicorns. I don't like you're basically crazy and you want to kill someone, and you talk to Slender Man and Voldemort, but you've still got time for unicorns. She also pretended to be a cat. She was the first sent to Winnebago Mental Health Institute to determine what her mental state was and if she could stand trial, and she was diagnosed with early onset childhood schizophrenia. She started treatment, but the results are mixed. At first she became worse, moving further into a fantasy world. Then the medication did start to work, but this caused her to experience remorse, which made her mind wobble again. She went on trial, but was again sent to Winnebago Mental Health Institute. She was its youngest patient. The legal system decided it was going to try both of these children as adults because they tried to murder a child. Geyser for attempted first-degree homicide and Weir for second-degree. Geyser's team tried to negotiate how or whether she would be tried, or if she could dodge it and remain in hospital. Just give me a second, chaps. In the end, so they both pled guilty, but they took a plea deal. They were found not guilty by mental disease or defect. For Leutner's family, this meant their daughter didn't have to testify. However, don't panic. The plea deal basically said Wire was given what is technically 25 years to life, but actually meant she has to spend at least 3 years in confinement and treatment in a state psychiatric unit, and only be let out when she was deemed safe and then be put under supervision. Geyser was given 40 years to life, but with the same principle, staying at least 3 years, undergoing psychiatric treatment, where she could be held until she was 53 or completely cured. Her sentencing, Geyser said, "I just want to let Bella know and the family know I'm sorry I never meant this to happen." Now, this is where we get into a somewhat difficult area. So it's 2021. Wire was deemed to have completed her treatment and was released from Winnebago Mental Health Institute and started her supervision. She said she was sorry and deeply regretful for the agony, pain and fear she has caused. I hate my actions, but through countless hours of therapy I no longer hate myself for them. She had a GPS monitor for 2 years but is now without it. She's banned from social media and must take her medication and must get permission to leave the area. Geyser has appealed to be let out. Well, first she appealed to be tried as a child, and then appealed that she wasn't given her Miranda rights properly, and then this year appealed for release, but she was told she was not yet ready. She can apply again in 6 months. So what does this mean? This means that two people who have it within them to kill other people, a child, one is now out, and another could be out at any point. Leutner's family are not really thrilled about this. They've said, please take into consideration everything my daughter and family has endured when deciding your sentence. Paige should not have to spend the remainder of her use with her curtains closed, looking over her shoulder. And I think, to be honest, that applies to the whole community. The plea deal has basically allowed these girls to get back into the community and get away with it, even though they have proved they have that within them. So, a bit problematic, especially if Geyser is ever released. So that's the Slender Man stabbings. I mean, I said nobody died. I didn't say it had a good end. I didn't say we're going to come away comfortable. I just said nobody was going to die. However, Leutner gave an interview. Leutner is doing brilliantly, and she actually says that her experiences have inspired her to train up for a medical career, and she is now anonymously out there studying for a career to help other people in the way she was helped. And she is, by all accounts, a fully recovered and incredible young woman, which is good, you know. So thank you. Oh, thank you for the applause, Paul. So yeah, a bit of a weird one that, but yeah. If you think that was weird, though, wait to see what comes next. Now, I've been belling this throughout the evening. Yeah, you still won't trust. I mean, I genuinely think that when somebody, you can't. I think justice is a bit sort of a vague concept. Punishment can never really happen. The most you can do is sort of protect people. If somebody has that in them, is letting them out a good idea? I'm not really sure. Oh, thank you for the kissing Polly emote, Steve. That's definitely a good idea and been happening. Polly update if you're following along. So as you know, Polly had 2 weeks of so I've known Polly for about 3 months when I adopted her. And she's been recovering. She's been on an ongoing recovery from her rescue. When she was rescued, she was so ill she couldn't even lift her head up to eat. She's now recovered, and all the while I've had her here, she became comfortable with me very quickly. Loves me, but has always been exceptionally shy around anyone else. Would never stay in a room where I'm with somebody else. Until yesterday. So Polly has obviously had her 14 days of meds and is clearly a hell of a lot better. Because I had my weekly movie club over last night, and Polly came down and spent the entire evening with us, even letting other people stroke her. This is an unparalleled level of trust and comfort. So I'm going to assume, oh yeah, Ditch is coming around tomorrow. Ditch may be associated with the vet too much. We shall see if Polly goes, it's Vet Man, and then legs it. So we shall see. But I'm sure, Ditch, that Polly will soon, after a few visits. Yeah, she only gives us the butt. Yeah. I'm sure that after a few visits, she will treat you the same, Ditch. She will treat you the same. So, but yes, a great breakthrough in what I believe is her recovery is now becoming more comfortable with other people. So that's good. Obviously, she's not here. You know. Yeah, wear a disguise, Ditch. Come dressed as Tuna, Ditch, or Dreamies. Just come dressed as Dreamies. She'll be all over you. You won't have any fingers left, but she'll be all over you. So the next story is the case of William Woods. West of Canada. Yeah. Now, I've obviously spoiled the twist in this because I've been billing this as the Nobody Dies night. So as I'm reading this out, you're going to know where the twist is going to be. However, I think it's worth doing. I assure you that everything I'm about to read out happened. And it is perhaps scarcely credible. Yes. Suggestions: wear catnip. I mean, I think Ditch might end up being a pincushion if he wears catnip. But... Right, so William Wood's life had already gone wrong by the time he was homeless in LA, but it was going to get worse than he ever thought. He discovered someone had been using his name and ID to build up large debts. Right, you're a homeless man, you realise someone has been using your name. They've now been taking out debts. He went to the bank to prove his identity. He ended up charged with identity theft himself, put in prison, locked in a mental hospital, forcibly drugged. All while claiming he was the real William Woods. And he wasn't mad. Someone had completely stolen his life and had lived it for 35 whole years. So William Woods was working as a hot dog vendor in the late 1980s in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Here he met a colleague called Matthew David Cairns, a man who'd run away from home as a teen and got in plenty of trouble with the law, but had managed to avoid court. One day, Woods realised his wallet had gone missing, and he thought the newly hired Cairns had taken it. Years later, he's quoted as saying, "I put my fist in his face and he decided to hand me back my wallet." He was adamant he didn't actually touch Cairns inside. He checked his wallet, and his social security card and birth certificate was still there. He said, "I didn't think anything of it." For reasons we still don't understand, Cairns had decided to steal Wood's identity, not for a simple fraud, not to just easily steal a bunch of money. No. Investigators worked out that Cairns stopped using his own name and security number entirely and moved full-time into being William Woods. He got a car, he moved around. He married a now Mrs. Woods. They had a child, a little Woods. He applied and gained a job in the University of Iowa Hospital as Woods. He worked in IT with the highest level of clearance and control of the hospital's critical systems as somebody else. He obtained $200,000 in loans as Woods. He paid his taxes as Woods. He was aided in this by being able to use the certain ancestry websites. I think that's subtle enough. To map Woods' family history and obtain a copy of his birth certificate. So, Cairns was out there 35 years he lived under the Woods name. At the end of this period, Woods became aware that there were now debts in his name. He had been bounced from job to job. He was now homeless. He was selling whatever scraps he could find. But he didn't want to have to pay all this money in case somebody came after him for it. So he went into the bank, told them he hadn't opened these accounts and they needed to be closed. He could not and will not pay a debt that wasn't his. So Woods produced his social security number and state ID. And the bank said, well, we've got to put you through the security process. Answer the security questions, which Kieran's had set up. When Woods couldn't answer, they assumed he must be a fraudster. So they rang Woods, who was Kieran's. Oddly enough, Kieran said, well, nobody else has got the ability to answer my account. Then he answered the security questions he had set up himself fraudulently, and the bank called the police. They arrested Woods. However, they didn't really get very far in investigating this. They didn't establish reality. In fact, they charged Woods with identity theft and impersonating Woods. Why do you have a social security card that says Woods? That's this other man. The police believed that the real Woods' real name was Matthew Kieran's, the same name as the man who'd stolen his identity, but with a different spelling. Now, you may be thinking, are you making this up because it sounds... This is just the most Kafkaesque nonsense possible, but it's actually true. So the more the police questioned him, the more Woods maintained his innocence, that he was Woods and not whatever spelling of Kieran's you want. He maintained his innocence so much that a judge thought he was mentally ill and locked him in the state mental hospital and forced him to take psychotropic drugs. Police told the Kieran's, who they thought was the real Woods, that they had this lunatic claiming to be him, and he said, oh well, he was quite happy to have him in the asylum. If anything, he hoped Woods would stay there. Kieran's actually messed up and sent in the wrong middle name on some documents, but he talked his way out of it. After 428 days in jail and 147 in hospital, he gave in and agreed a no contest plea and was released due to time served. He was ordered to use his real name and never call himself Woods again. But Woods didn't give up. He contacted the police himself to lodge a complaint. Now the police let go. They weren't interested. He contacted a credit company. He pushed, and eventually he contacted the University of Iowa Hospital, where Kieran's worked his six-figure job, and complained. University security passed it on to the police, and finally we have a detective who did some actual detectiving. Kieran's is pushing to have Woods locked up again is crazy, but this detective said, well, let's get the man that's listed on Woods' birth certificate, which they're both claiming is theirs, and arranged a DNA test. And the DNA test showed the man on the birth certificate was the father of Woods, not Kieran. So police went to Kieran and said, this man's still trying to claim you, and he said, well, he needs locking up. Then they asked for the name of his father, and instead of giving Woods' father, Kieran's messed up and gave his own adoptive father's name. And then he was shown the DNA evidence and he crumbled. My life is over, he stated. Everything is gone. Kieran's was charged with 2 federal offences, making false statements to a National Credit Union administration and aggravated identity theft. He pled guilty. He is awaiting trial, sentencing, and faces 32 years in prison. His wife wrote to the court, I believe Matt's motivation was simple, to create the family and home he did not have in his youth, although it's never really been explained why he had to completely steal somebody else's identity to do it. Woods is considering suing LA, stating they should pay me every day I had to stay there. Yes, they definitely should pay you for that. Nobody should be stuffed in a psychiatrist hospital and fed drugs because somebody can't investigate properly. But let's end this account, this absolutely incredibly bizarre account, on a scary note. So Vanity Fair used this crime as a jumping off point for a look at modern identity theft. Identity theft is a Cascaris nightmare. AI makes it worse. Vanity Fair, May 2024. And I want to end this section with a quote. Identity theft is getting easier thanks to technology. It used to be that someone would misuse your credit card or open a fake loan. In the Woods case, his entire life was taken over. That gets easier when AI can generate a huge amount of realistic false documents, Lou Steinberg, the founder and managing partner of CTM Insights, a cybersecurity research lab, told me. This will only become more prevalent with deepfake technology. In the Woods case, the fraudster could fool people who didn't know the real victim. In the future, he could have a phone call, a Zoom call, or a FaceTime chat with people who do know the victim and make himself look like them. So, comments on that? While I line up what we've got next. Well, I don't just throw this stuff together. We ended that story with the vision of a nightmare dystopia where people can completely fake phone calls and look like other people. How far in the future do you think that is? Oh, we're here. I've got a story. So this is just a short one. But it perfectly illustrates the absolute hellscape we are now entering. So a worker at a bank, a worker at a financial institution that for various reasons doesn't really want to know who they are, but this is true. This is a completely true news story. A worker at a multinational firm received an email from the company's chief financial officer, and it said, we need to quickly transfer $25 million to this address. You must do it. You mustn't go around. We just really need to pay this money off. Now he thought, well, that sounds like a scam, doesn't it? But don't panic, because the chief financial officer had organised a Zoom call, well, they don't say Zoom, they say a multi-person video conference. We're assuming it's Zoom, but there is other software available. So this man logged in. There's his boss. There's the head of the company. There's the chief financial officer, all on cams, all talking, and it's all arranged. Pay $25 million to this account. Go. Okay. You've just seen your boss. You've just seen the chief financial officer. They're all, they're interacting. It's fine. Why would you not? Why would you not send $25 million? A bit later, he messaged the chief financial officer to just check it was fine. This has gone through. And the chief financial officer said, what do you mean? Because every single person in that call was a live deepfake. There was nobody legitimate in that call, and he had just sent $25 million from a Hong Kong account to a load of fraudsters. Yes, we are at the point where people can gather enough data to completely recreate bosses in your company and persuade you to do terrible things. Oh, cat cow. Now, is this going to work? Sat perfectly positioned so you can only see her glorious ears, which make a lovely sound when she shakes. We shall see. So yeah, this is where we are now, everybody. You really cannot trust anything on the internet, including office work calls. Fortunately, I'm not in a position for somebody to ask me to transfer millions of pounds. So I don't need to worry that much. I feel, Polly, that you may have taken the sting out of that last story and be distracting everybody with cuteness. They were supposed to be mildly terrified, and now they're just cute. It's just cute. Yes, thank you for using the poly emotes. We've got a new one today. We have the zooming in poly face. I like to think the zooming in poly face is for when we get to a particular twist or reveal. But maybe not. Yeah, Leslie, who knew we'd be glad we didn't have millions to accidentally transfer to criminals? Yeah, I mean, it is kind of like that now. Like, it's mad. Right, so just to let you know, we have one light-hearted comedy, well, for us, not for one man, comedy story to go, and then we will be raiding. I hope you have enjoyed tonight. Non-murder night. I didn't say we wouldn't be summoning up a sci-fi nightmare. I just said nobody died. So, you know, basically don't trust me. Hang on. Okay, so it turns out, after last week's tech problems, I only... Sorry, that was Polly. Polly's causing chaos. Bear with me. Right. Right, can anybody still see or hear me? Right. Because she just walked across my keyboard and OBS absolutely lost its shit. Somebody in chat, can you still hear or see me? Right, good, yes, okay. The downside of having the most marvellous cat on your stream is that I need some sort of massive protective shield for the control. Well, you've seen a bit of... This is what life's like with Polly. Polly said the show's over. Polly's like, wrap it up, I want dreamies. Well, we've got one quick story left. And I like to leave us on a more light-hearted note. You may not think this is a light-hearted story, but... There isn't one gold leaf we've looked for years. Damn it. Does anybody know anybody that's good with plexiglass? Steve can solder. Can you go? Have you got a glue gun, Steve? It wouldn't matter though, would it? Because you'd still find some other way. Like I could put some clever, massive shield over this, and she'd just jump down there and unplug my camera. Anyway, while we've got some peace. And someone's not turning the mic. Oh, indeed, the scene's off. Let's close this out with some comedy. Nashville police officer Sean Herman is in a spot of bother. Well, I should say former National Police Officer Sean Herman. He was arrested after he was discovered appearing in an OnlyFans video which was shot on duty. So it says mine would chew the cables. Yeah, she's a cat, there's nothing safe, mate. Yeah, I've literally chosen the worst career for a cat owner. Something where I have to appear live in an unbroken stream. And then I've introduced utter sharp chaos into it. Anyway. It's not entirely sure how this OnlyFans video was brought to the attention of the police. However, the Specialised Investigation Division detectives took a very close look at it. Herman's head wasn't in the video. Some other parts of people, you know. So they were eventually, after studying the video very hard, they worked out who he was from the uniform they could see. I'm not sure how you get a job in the police watching OnlyFans to that level. Anyway, they identified him. He'd been a police officer for 3 years. He's now been arrested on 2 counts of felony official misconduct. So the moral of this story is, don't film OnlyFans while you're at work if you're a police officer. I have to admit, this is not one of those stories where we're going to illustrate it in any way. Alright, well, that was my attempt to end it on a high note, but I feel I just made it smutty. Right, bear with me. Now, let me see. Last week, after the stream ended last week, I went to have a look for some suitably different raid targets. Now, as you know, I like to take us to a different... Well, basically, I don't know of anyone else that streams true crime on Twitch, let alone now. Otherwise, we could go and give them some support. But I don't. So we go for a total vibe check of something nice and interesting and different. So let me just check if the person I've selected for tonight is indeed on. They are. Right. Right, so tonight we're going to go to see a streamer who on stream builds scale models. So little thing. Full disclosure: for about 4 or 5 years, 10 years ago, I actually did work as a painter for a model railway company. I painted figures that, well, firstly, I've always painted Warhammer, right, for myself as fun. So I've always been to Warhammer. I like painting and crafting. I'm a crafty sort of person. But for a good few years, I was actually paid to paint model railway figures. So if you've ever painted a post box or a boat or train crew or traffic lights or a wheelbarrow or a sheep are easy, in enamels, hi, because I've done that. So I do like crafting. So we're going to go and see Scaled Crafts and check out his craft stream. He has only got 2 people in and he's been streaming for 1 hour 50 minutes. So let's go and give him a bit of a boost. You don't necessarily have to stay, because I realise watching a man building a little wooden building out of sort of wood is not everyone's cup of tea, but I absolutely love it. So let's go and check him out. Thank you everybody for a great stream. Thanks for supporting me. Thank you for my first height train and getting me to level 2. Thanks for all the subs and bits. You've all been great. It's been a great experience. Thank you. Oh yes, Paul, I should say, the VODs, all the VODs are uploaded to YouTube, where they will last for as long as YouTube does. So if anybody wants to check them again, or anybody wants to see them and not be in the stream, YouTube is the way to go. Also on YouTube, I have started creating special YouTube shorts. I've decided to try and use the format to tell a complete story in under 60 seconds. So if you've been watching the stream, you'll know I spent a good 45 minutes on the Golden State Killer, and then I tried to do the entire thing and give you the gist in under 60 seconds. So that's going on as well, if anybody wants to check all that out. Thank you very much, everybody. Let me just set the raid up. Have a great week. I will see you here next Thursday. I'm supposed to press the button. So, take care, everybody. Have a great week. And I shall see you all very soon. Thanks for your support.